Hello there.
So what's going on, guys? My name is Wolfwool77 and welcome back to another part of the Spyro Battlefront 2 concept series. So in the previous part we looked at the first two villains for the dark side, and that was Malifaux and Gol. And today we are going to be looking at part 3, which will be the third and fourth heroes of the light side, who are going to be Flame and Ember, as you guys have seen by the thumbnail and the title. So before we continue, I just want to thank you guys for the support you've given for this series so far, especially with some comments about suggestions for emotes and maybe a certain ability I should have gone with and so forth. And I really do appreciate those comments and stuff, and I will properly address them in a future video because, for example, one of them was an ability that Spyro could have instead of a certain one I've already got. And I think that would work out because I didn't think of that until after seeing that comment. But yeah, so thank you guys for that. If you do have any more suggestions, just leave them in the comments below and I'll be sure to hopefully address them in a future video. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead with Flame to begin with. And before we do though, one thing I've forgotten to add for the heroes is a health regeneration. So this is if they don't have a health regeneration card, this is how much health will they be able to gain back after dealing damage. So I would probably assume Spyro Cinder would have about 200 health regain each. And then Malifaux could be an exception at 250. Since he's that powerful. And then Gol, I guess, could be at 200 also. But then I'll go through what Flame and Ember will have. You probably know what it's going to be. But if you guys have got any, if you got better suggestions as to what their health regain should be, just let me know in the comments. But without further ado, let's go ahead with Flame. So the base description I've got here is, being one of Spyro's best friends, Flame is definitely a fun and supportive dragon to his friends and helps them out in any way he can. He may look similar to Spyro, but Flame is unique to being more than just the fire dragon he is. So, yeah, the first appearance of Flame was back in Spyro Hero's Tale. I don't remember what year that is. My guess was 2004 from memory. I think, I'm not too sure, I have to look it up, I guess, because I never actually played the game, but I've seen gameplay for it. But yeah, that was essentially the first appearance of both Flame and Ember, and Flame is very, very similar to Spyro in that game in terms of their models, but they have their differences, definitely. And then, especially with the fan-made comics, too, that I've read, Flame and Spyro have definitely got their differences, but they're very similar in terms of a part of their personality. But yeah, so anyways, we'll go ahead with the base health, which I've got 700 health here for Flame, which I think was generally an okay amount to go with. And then I've got 3 appearances here for Flame. So his default appearance will be called Fire Dragon. So this is going to be a Dawn of the Dragon style look that, say, Spyro and Cinder have already. Then I'm going to go ahead with the legendary appearance for Flame, which is going to be called Father, otherwise Adult Flame. So this is the same thing that I had with Spyro and Cinder in part 1, where my idea is generally based on a similar concept to the artist Shalone. Now, I know there's an S and the K in the end, but I don't know how to, if you're supposed to pronounce it with the S and the K, but I'm calling her Shalone for short. So, she has her own set of fan-made comics, and she has her own interpretation of an adult Spyro, Cinder, Flame, and Ember, and that's sort of what my focuses on what they would look like in terms of their adult appearances. And then the third skin I've got here is going to be the first event skin that I've actually mentioned, but I'm going to talk about some previous skins in a moment. But I'll get back to this one. So this one is going to be a hero's tale. So Ember is going to have the same thing, and I don't think I ever mentioned Spyro having the hero's tail appearance, because it is slightly different to his classic look. So maybe that is a future skin I could add in a future video, because I'm thinking there are more skins I can definitely add. And if you guys have got any more skins I should look at adding, then just let me know and I'll definitely look at adding them in. But yeah, essentially, if there was like an event based on a hero's tail, then this is definitely a skin that could be added into the game easily. But Flame could also have like a battle armor appearance of his own, which would be classified as epic, just like Spyro and Cinder, and then therefore Ember could have the same thing too. Then we're going to get into the attacks. So his primary attack is Fire Breath. His secondary attack is Dragon Claws and Tail. The up arrow will be Flight, which will also affect stamina, unless if you press the jump button twice, maybe, I'm thinking. And the aim button is blocking using the wings. So that's pretty self-explanatory there. And then we're going to get into Flame's abilities. Now, if you guys have got any other ability suggestions I should go with, just let me know, as I've mentioned previously. But these are the 3 abilities that I've come up with for Flame. So the first one is going to be Comet Dash. So Spyro already has a Comet Dash, but because I've already, I could have given Comet Dash to Spyro, but I thought it may have been better to go with Flame, since Spyro had a whole range of different abilities and powers he could go with. So the description for Comet Dash is: Flame dashes forward in a quick burst of flame, knocking enemies out of the way and leaving a scorching mark behind. So it's kind of going to be like Luke's defensive rush for, well, if it's called defensive rush, I actually forgot now. But yeah, it's like one of those type of abilities, or say Darth Maul's spin attack, where they charge forward and they deal damage. So basically you'll have 2 available, but there will be a certain star card that says you'll have an extra one, but there's like a longer time to wait in terms of a cooldown. The second ability though is going to be called Fire Dive, and this is where Flame quickly flies up and picks his impact zone and dives back down to the ground, entering with a devastating slam of fire that affects a 360-degree radius. So it's like an orbital strike in a way. So you'll fly up, you'll have a certain amount of time to pick your, where you want to strike, and then you'll fly down and then create this big burst of fire that affects 360 degrees all around you, as mentioned. But yeah, so that should be a pretty cool ability. And then the final one is going to be called Spread of Fire. So this is where Flame breathes in and releases a spread of flames in a 70-degree radius that can also temporarily leave enemies still or stunned for a very short time, leaving Flame to deal the final blow. So it's kind of like Palpatine's... I actually forgot the ability name now, which shows I don't play Palpatine as much, but it's the one where he sends a wave of electricity on the ground. It's pretty much that, essentially. That's what Flame's Spread of Fire ability would be. So I don't think I need to explain it more apart from that. But then we'll get into his star cards. So the first one is Flame's abilities burn bigger and brighter, making them 10% stronger or faster depending on its effects. So I think 10% was an okay level to go with, from my view. But then the second ability, or second star card I should say, is Flame stamina bar drains slower. And then the third one is Flame has increased health regeneration. So those are the base 3. And then we're going to get into the ones for the abilities. So first 2 for Comet Dash, being the first one, Flame's Comet Dash burns up more, dealing increased damage. And the second one being Flame receives 1 extra dash for Comet Dash, however the recharge time is slightly increased, so that's what I mentioned before. Then the next two are for Fire Dive, the first one being the impact radius of the landing from Fire Dive is larger, spreading to enemies further away. And the second one is Fire Dive will leave enemies slightly taking damage over time after being caught in its landing, truly leaving a devastating effect. So this is like one of Spyro's abilities where he has a damage over time effect with, I think it was called Blazing Comet, I don't remember off the top of my head. But yeah, so that's going to be a pretty devastating ability from the sounds of it, as I mentioned. But then the final two is going to be for Spread of Fire. So the first one being Spread of Fire has an increased area of effect, affecting more enemies. And the second one is the area effect of Spread of Fire lasts longer, giving Flamer's allies more time to attack. Oh, sorry, not area effect, after effect. I read that wrong by accident. But yeah, so, like for example, I think, yeah, Palpatine has one star card, I think, where if he, I think it's Electrocute, that's the ability name, I think, where if he electrocutes multiple, like a certain number of enemies at once, they'll stay shocked for longer, so it's pretty much going to be that. But that's all I've got for Flame. So now we're going to get into Ember, and I'm going to try and make this as quick as I can, hopefully. So the base description is, Ember can be quite the cheerful and outgoing girl, formerly falling in love with Spyro, whilst even trying to get together with him. She's now more mature than her younger self, but she still brings that positivity into battle to support her friends. Guess you can't get enough of Ember. So, yes, she was madly in love with Spyro. You can see that in A Hero's Tale also, and even fan-made comics and so forth. But as she grew older, she became more mature, and yeah. So at first, I wasn't really sure about my opinion on Ember, but I really don't mind Ember now. I think she's a really cool character. But yeah, so anyways, we'll get to the base health, which is going to be 700 health, so the same as Flame. The health regain would be around 200, if I did mention that before, I actually don't remember now. But then the appearances, there's going to be 4 appearances. The first one, the default being Loving Dragoness. So this is going to be a similar look to Dawn of the Dragon, as mentioned before. And then the epic appearance will be her own battle armor appearance. There's no reference image for it, obviously, because I've never seen Flame and Ember in their own armor before. And then the legendary appearance is going to be Mother, otherwise Adult Ember. This is based on the concept of what Shalone has for her, like artwork and stuff. And then the event skin appearance I've got is, of course, A Hero's Tale. So those are pretty straightforward there with those appearances, which means now we can get into the attacks. So our primary attack is going to be Fire Breath. Secondary is going to be Dragon Claws and Tail. The up arrow, or pressing the jump button twice, is Flight, also affects stamina. And the aim button is blocking using the wings. So it's literally the exact same as Flame. So yeah, because obviously they're not too far off from each other in terms of similarities, but yeah. So now we're going to get into the abilities, and I found these quite interesting as to what Ember had technically. But yeah, so the first ability is going to be called Love Beam. So this is where Ember breathes in and fires a quick beam of pure heart that won't be as friendly to enemies, as it deals a quick zap of damage to them. So that's something you don't want to get on the end of, essentially. So it's, think of it as like a sniper shot, I guess. Then we're going to get into the second ability, which is going to be called Passion. And if you guys don't know, obviously from what you've seen, she has a heart necklace around her neck. So that's kind of a giveaway as to what she would be like. She's basically pure of heart, which, speaking of which, that is the name of the third ability, pure of heart. Ember gives herself some protection from enemy attacks with a temporary shield channeled from her powers. So I thought for this one, I wanted to do something like Aiden with her droid shield, where she could give herself a temporary shield using her, using her powers, and that would last for a certain amount of time, because, well, until it's basically destroyed. But now we're going to get into the star cards for Ember. So the first star card obviously is when the healing effect of Passion wears off from Ember, the damage it prevented is converted into a critical hit increase that lasts for a few seconds. So Ember is the only one at the moment that has 3 cards for one ability. So this is similar to Yoda's with Unleash, where the damage, like, same thing, damage it prevented goes into, I think it was critical damage, but yeah. So think of Ember in this case. Basically, if she and her allies get a health buff, I think if it was just herself, once it wears off, then whatever she had to take from enemies will be converted into critical damage for a very short duration. So that's kind of like a perk from the ability, essentially. So it gives her a little bit of an advantage. And then the second star card is Ember's stamina bar drains slower. And the third one is Ember has increased health regeneration. Those are pretty straightforward. And then we're going to get into the first two for Love Beam. The first one being Ember's Love Beam deals increased damage and travels further. So it's kind of a mix of all the saber throws and the damage they deal. For example, Darth Vader's saber throw, when it's coming back to him, will deal more damage. Then the second one is the cooldown of Love Beam is shorter. Simple as that, which means you can do a quick zap every now and then. Then we get into the second and third star cards for Passion, since the first one was for Passion. The second one, I should say, being Ember's Passion gives herself and her allies a slight damage reduction with the health buff. So it's a little extra touch to it, which could actually end up being very useful depending on the situation you're in. And of course the third one, I should say, being Ember's Passion gives out more health to herself and her allies, so you just get a little boost to it. And then the final two are going to be for Pure of Heart. So the first one is Pure of Heart lasts longer when active. Or I should say Ember's Pure of Heart. And the other one is Ember's Pure of Heart has more health, allowing it to take more damage. So, yeah, so basically what I've got here is it will either last for a certain duration if it's not destroyed by the end of the timer, or the other card is it can take more damage, which means you can pretty much go to the end of the timer depending on how long it will last. But yeah, so that's all we've got for Flame and Ember, which means part 3 is now complete. And I will say that part 4 is going to cover the 3rd and 4th villains for obviously the dark side, and that is going to be Nasty Nork and Ripto. So I'm looking forward to bringing that out for you guys. But I just want to say once again, thank you guys so much for the support. And if you are new to the channel, be sure to subscribe. Go and check out my other videos. Leave a like on the video and comment down below what you thought of this concept. And if you haven't seen part 2 yet, which was Malifaux and Goal, the link will be in the description, and this the card will be up on screen now for you guys to go and check out. And I think apart from that, there's not really much else. So I guess until next time, I'll catch you guys in the next video.